Is artificial intelligence going to take your job? I have on screen here a meme that you probably know from South Park, they took our jobs. It's not that simple. We are not talking about artificial intelligence coming in and swiping jobs from specific people. You're not going to come into work and Deborah from accounting is suddenly gone. It's going to be a lot more insidious. It's going to be a lot more subtle. And therefore, we need to be aware of what is happening, the mechanisms of how artificial intelligence is going to affect labor, and therefore we can be ready. Now, fair warning, this is a tricky topic, especially if your job, your role, your tasks are at risk from artificial intelligence. That said, what I want to show you is how you can work out what parts of your job are defensible, which parts are not, and therefore what you can do about it. So I'm not just going to be doom and gloom. I'm going to give you some tools, give you some resources to actually work on this. And in fact, I've actually built a little diagnostic tool where you're going to plug in your job title, you're going to plug in your job description, and it's going to help you work out which parts of your job are exposed. It's going to help break down your week into these various different elements and therefore tell you what your plan of action should be moving forward. So this is a tool that I've built for you. We'll put a link below this video. If you are not subscribed, you can do so at aiwithkyle.com and it's free to subscribe. And this is a very early version of the tool, but I will be showing you what it looks like and refining it over time, trying to give us some actual advice on what we can do for our specific roles. Cool, let's jump into it. So first, most important part, every single job is a bundle of different tasks. When you are an accountant, you don't just do accountancy all day. When you are a zookeeper, you don't just feed and muck out the animals all day. Every single job, including yours, is a bundle of different tasks, different things that you do that make up that 8 or 10 hours of your workday. You need to break your job title. You need to break your daily workload down into the specific tasks that you actually do on a day-to-day basis, because AI can affect these tasks differently. It's no good just us saying, oh, how does AI affect doctors? Oh, how does AI affect janitorial staff? How does AI affect financial service staff? That doesn't mean anything. We have to break it down into the composite tasks and then look at them each individually. That is why I've built this tool, which goes through each of the little tasks, each of the little things that you do as part of a day job in order to work out what is at risk and what is not at risk. Job titles far too crude. You need to break it down to the different tasks. Start there. So there are going to be some tasks within your job which are at risk, and there are going to be others that are defensible. So here we have an SME, accountant. So the exposed edges will be things like reconciliation, invoice processing, first draft reports, spreadsheet cleanup, especially with Claude in Excel, tax research, etc., etc. Whereas the defensible parts are going to be things like client trust, judgment, discernment, explaining trade-offs, business context. This is what I personally pay my accountant for. Not for this kind of stuff. I know a lot of this can be automated, and it is using software like Xero already, and it has been for a while, but instead for the judgment, for the advice, for the ability to tell me what I should be doing with my business taxes. That is the defensible part. I don't know why I was thinking about this, but Zookeeper. So the defensible parts are going to be things like handling the animals, getting into the cage with the lion, physical care, observation, safety, embodied experience, the physicality of the job. Whereas the exposed edges are going to be things like record keeping, reports, visitor scripts, scheduling, compliance notes. Now, if you're in any role, you might be thinking, actually, I'd quite like AI to do these parts of the job because I don't particularly like the reports. I don't particularly like the record keeping. I don't particularly like scheduling and all of these parts of the job. So that is the silver lining here, is that AI is going to take those elements of the job, allowing you to do more of the parts that you like. However, this comes at a cost. The more that can be compressed, the more that can be done with artificial intelligence within your particular job, the more tasks that can be taken away, the less people we need to do that job. So if we come back to the zookeeper here, let's say the local zoo has 10 people, and their time split 50-50 between the defensible parts, handling the animals, feeding, physical care, observation, safety, etc., and the exposed edges. If we find that AI can come in and take all of this work, all of these tasks here, the exposed edges, suddenly they have 50% more time. Half of the job has gone. Now, this means we don't necessarily need as many people doing the job. because suddenly you have one employee who can do twice the amount of work because other elements, other tasks have been taken by the artificial intelligence. So what happens there is we are going to end up in a situation, already the labor market is soft. We're going to end up with a situation where we don't need to make as many new jobs. This is not AI coming in and taking jobs. It's not snatching away and replacing people directly. No, it is instead going to be a lot more insidious. It's going to be a lot more quiet, a lot more subtle. What's going to happen is it's going to decrease the number of new positions that are opening up because you don't need as many people. One person can do a lot more using artificial intelligence. You might have gone from 5 hires down to 1 or 2 hires plus artificial intelligence, and that one person being able to do the job of 5, of 10 people. So it's going to be jobs that never existed, the new jobs, the new roles that are at risk here. And that is a lot harder to see and to get furious about because it's the elimination of something that does not yet exist. Much more subtle. Unfortunately, this also means that Gen Z are probably going to be the ones who get hit first. So I actually did a whole presentation on this the other day. Here he is, Gen Z and AI, talking specifically about the difference between Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, his graduation speech where he talked about how great AI is and how you have to get on board, and he got booed, versus Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple, basically saying you have actual intelligence and that's what's going to be helpful moving forward. So basically telling Gen Z, it's okay, you're going to be fine. So the problem with this in particular is that as artificial intelligence starts to take away tasks within a job, we therefore need less people doing that particular job. Therefore, we are not going to create new roles. Those new roles will be disproportionately Gen Z, young worker, lower level entry positions. So entry level work will contain a lot of these tasks that can be taken away. So for example, in legal work, yes, later on you'll be doing some quite advanced work using your judgment. But when you start off as a legal clerk, you are for the most part doing mundane stuff. And this might be going on for years. You'll be doing things like discovery, which is primarily getting a lot of documentation together, finding patterns, something that artificial intelligence is very good at. That kind of work will be removed, and therefore it's going to affect Gen Z. It's going to affect the younger generations much more than the older generations who are already up the rungs. Now, there's always a pushback here, which is, oh, well, okay, fine. We have companies who, when they introduce artificial intelligence, we come back to this, let's say instead of hiring less people, they actually keep the same headcount. They keep the same headcount, they give them artificial intelligence, and now, well, surely they can do 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 times the work. Their productivity goes through the ceiling. So instead of getting rid of people and having a lower headcount with artificial intelligence to have the same productivity as before, let's just keep the headcount, let's increase the headcount, let's go nuts, give them artificial intelligence and just put the productivity into space. The problem with this is that a higher supply of productivity, being able to create more, having more labor, having more output, needs an increase in demand. You need customers. You need to be able to sell whatever it is you are building. And there are no guarantees that we're going to have that demand. So we need to look at the elasticity here. Productivity gains might be real, but demand, increased demand, is not necessarily going to occur. A couple of reasons for this. One is that AI is going to be taking a lot of jobs. And if AI is taking a lot of jobs, and then there's less money in the economy overall. So yes, AI might raise the output per worker, but demand might not raise enough. So even if you do maintain your headcount, or even if you hire, you're going to end up producing more and more and more output, whatever it is you're creating, but the price of that output, to sell that output, is going to collapse because the demand is not there. You're going to be oversupplying a low demand market, and that's not a good place to be. So yes, you can be more productive. That does not mean that society as a whole, that the global economy will increase in lockstep with its demand. In fact, I think it's going to go in the opposite direction. I'm a massage therapist. I am a physical therapist. I work with my hands. These are the instruments, the tools I use, and AI can't do that. What happens here is we have second order effects, because if we have a lot of people who are without a job, this is happening already, unemployment is very scary and it is increasing. If we have lots of people who are out of work who do not have incomes, then they have less disposable income to spend on goods and services. So it means, yes, whilst your job might have a low direct exposure, your customers may have a high exposure. Maybe your customers were bankers and accountants and suddenly they're out of their jobs. Therefore, there is less cash for your customers to spend on your services. So we have a trickle-down effect, a negative trickle-down effect in this case, where there is less cash to pay for second-order services. So no industry is safe. No industry is isolated from this, because if the legs get kicked out from the economy as a whole, doesn't matter how safe you were from artificial intelligence directly, if nobody has money to pay you for whatever it is you provide. So we cannot be arrogant. We cannot ignore this. It's going to affect absolutely everybody. Part of this is I want to make sure you realize this is a big deal. I have created this diagnostic tool, as I mentioned. I will put it in the newsletter. I will also put it below this YouTube video later when it is ready. But I want to give you a basic version of this that you can run manually without having to use the tool I've created. So the basic idea is I want you to sit down and on the back of a napkin, on the back of an envelope, whatever it is an envelope, you're going to write down what you actually do on a weekly basis. What tasks do you spend your time doing? And then you are going to, again, very roughly, this isn't a full audit, you are going to work out how much time you spend on them. How much time do you spend on customer service? How much time do you spend on client calls? How much is selling? How much is doing admin work, bookkeeping, for example? Just, you need a rough outline like this one that you can see on the right-hand side, reconciling client meetings, advising compliance sign-up. You're then going to work out which of these are most at risk, which ones can be taken by artificial intelligence, which ones are AI already pushing on or very good at already, and which ones instead can AI not do. And then you're going to work out what type of defense each of these has. So something like reconciling, let's say you spend 20% of your time reconciling invoices. AI can do that. AI can do that really well. So the defense there is pretty low because it's non-physical, it's algorithmic, and it doesn't require any human empathy. These are the big three for me. So that's the kind of task that I would say, don't waste your time on. That's gone, it's dead. Whereas something like a client meeting, AI can certainly help with the preparation, it can help with the reporting, it can help with elements of it. Yes, maybe a lot of client meetings can also be replaced with an email, in which case AI can help a lot more. But let's say that there is a medium risk here. So your defense here is going to be empathy. It's going to be being able to talk to your clients, being able to understand the problems, being able to hear what their problems are that they're not necessarily saying. So reading between the lines. AI is not very good at that. So that is going to be something you can focus on. And this is a case here where you want to build your skills. Build your skills in the defensible areas. Don't bother trying to get better at things that AI is going to run over. Instead, focus your time on public speaking, focus on empathy, focus it on emotional intelligence, focus it on communication skills, the things that AI is not very good at and you're going to have a human edge at. That's where you should be focusing all your efforts on improving yourself. And we're not just going to sit back, we are going to fight back by focusing on what is truly human and getting better in those areas. And then generally, this is very broad, anything that is physical is going to be safer. That's because robotics is still behind. It hasn't really had its ChatGPT moment. It's still too expensive. That won't last forever. Anything that requires human empathy, trust, care, human connection is also much safer. And anything that is non-algorithmic. So AI is very good at things that are repetitive, where you can kind of write down a standard operating procedure and it can work its way through. If your job is throwing curveballs at you every single day and it's totally different, then that's quite hard to capture into an AI workflow, into an AI process. So anything that falls within these is generally going to be safer. Anything that requires legal liability, so AIs cannot be held legally liable for now. As a result of this, we still need solicitors, we still need lawyers, we still need accountants, we still need professional services to sign off on things. Whether or not these relatively old-fashioned systems will survive, requiring that liability transfer, we will see. I imagine at some point the first AI will be held legally responsible. That will set a precedent, and then from there the dominoes fall. And then also things like being in a labor union will also protect you. But these are pushing back against trends which you cannot ignore. So what you need to do is go through and break your job down into the tasks and work out which of these tasks is defensible, which are not. The ones that are not defensible, either now because AI is already better at it, or it's going to be better within the next couple of years. Don't waste your energy here. Find out how you can automate it. Find out how you can build something here. This is where you can build a business, by the way. You build something for your industry, for people in your job, and you basically help people automate that. Instead, focus your skills and your time and your energy on the things that are truly human. And this requires first this audit. So go ahead and do that. I will release this in the newsletter. So this allows you to put in your job title. So stuff like marketing manager, I'll put in. Then optionally, you can add a job description. So I'm going to grab this job description. It's very generic. The more details you give it, the better, obviously. And that is going to go through, pull out all the different tasks, analyze and work out based on the Department of Labor statistics, which of these tasks are more at risk. This is inspired by Karpathy's job market visualizer, where he's broken every industry and every role into down based on how much exposure it has to artificial intelligence. So I've used the same data in the back end. And then here, you will then allocate out your week to these different tasks, and it's going to give you a current score and high exposure, and then put together an actual plan helping you work out what you need to do about this. Free to sign up, or if you're watching this on YouTube later, check down below the video. Thank you so much, everybody, and see you soon.